Brandon Ingram is more than just a basketball player. Brandon Ingram is more than the tall, lanky, tattooed kid that plays for the Pelicans. He's more than the kid who swung on Chris Paul and Rajon Rondo. He's more than that. He's more than the guy that looks stoned all the time. He's a shining example. He's an enigma. He's a sign. He's a symbol. He's a symbol of stereotypes and misconceptions and unexcusably unforced expectations that he shouldn't have had to deal with. And I want to talk about that today, because I think Brandon Ingram is the shining example of stereotypes and how they can affect an NBA player and the expectations that are being placed on them.
Choose your fighter. LAKEY inspired.
Okay, first things first, I found this really funny how, Ingram, he had a good freshman year at Duke. He averaged 17.3 points per game, 6.8 rebounds per game, 2.0 assists per game, on solid shooting splits, and y'all was still pushing that Kevin Durant narrative on him because he was skinny and he could score, but he really didn't even have the production that Kevin Durant had as a freshman in college. But Marvin Bagley has one of the greatest freshman seasons in ACC history, 21 points a game, 11 rebounds per game, on 61% shooting from the field, and you guys knock him for it. You guys had so many negative things to say about Marvin Bagley III in his game, but you wouldn't even bat an eye at Brandon Ingram. And the funny thing is, people didn't even look at stats with Brandon Ingram. It's really funny. They just wanted to push that whole narrative about Kevin Durant because, he was skinny and he could score. I know Durant said Ingram was the first person he could look at and see that it was a reflection of himself. I get that. I understand he can say that. But Ingram says this, and I think this describes the whole Ingram draft process story perfectly. I try to take bits and pieces out of Durant's game and put it into my game. But at the end of the day, he's Kevin Durant and I'm Brandon Ingram. Now, to say there were aspects of Kevin Durant's game that Ingram possessed, yeah, I was completely fine with that. That's what I see a lot of NBA, official NBA scouts say, because Brandon Ingram wasn't Kevin Durant, but you can say, oh yeah, he has certain aspects of Kevin Durant in his game. But I see a lot of people saying, oh, he's the next Kevin Durant. I'm not talking about good names like Jonathan Giovanni, Jalen Rose, Jay Billis. They weren't saying he was the next Kevin Durant, but they said, oh, he has the potential to be great and has some Kevin Durant in it. But at the same time, I still just don't think Kevin Durant was a good comparison. To me, when I watched him play in college, I said, okay, he has good scoring ability, but Kevin Durant has Hall of Fame scoring ability. Ingram averaged 17 points per game in college. Kevin Durant almost averaged 26 points per game as a freshman in college. Ingram also wasn't as big as Kevin Durant was coming out of college. Kevin Durant was, I believe, 6'10", 215 pounds coming out of college. Ingram was 6'9", 190 pounds coming out of college. So that's a 25 difference in pounds between the two. So I guess the size thing kind of makes sense. But at the same time, it has never understood the comparison. Ingram always reminded me more of a Paul George point forward type than he did remind me of a Kevin Durant. Because Kevin Durant, he can pass, he has solid passing and playmaking abilities, but you know Kevin Durant as a scorer, as somebody who has won 4 scoring titles, has multiple scoring records that his name belongs on. Ingram, I felt more he's going to be a guy maybe 23, but more around like 23, 7, and like 4 to 5 is the ceiling. I always felt like that was the ceiling on him. I never thought he could be the 28 to 29 point scorer that Kevin Durant has been throughout most of his career. But again, I just never understood it. Like, Kevin Durant, like, his ball handling is good on the level of, like, some point guards don't have as good of a handle as Kevin Durant does. Ingram had a good ball handle, but I also felt like it was good for a forward, but it wasn't, like, good for a guard. You know what I mean by that? Also, by things I didn't question was he was a tough kid. I always loved his toughness. He seemed to want to play. He wasn't going to let size be a complete disadvantage to him. But again, what also didn't help, though, was the fact that, hey, he's a skinny kid that went number 2 overall. He must be Kevin Durant. Oh, he can kind of score. He must be Kevin Durant, because both of them are skinny kids that went 2nd overall. But again, the college success, it isn't even close either. Again, Brandon Ingram, AP, honorable mention, All-American, 2nd team All-ACC, ACC Rookie of the Year. Kevin Durant had one of the greatest college seasons of all time. National Player of the Year, the first freshman to ever do it. Consensus first team All-American, Big 12 Player of the Year. His numbers retired by Texas. You get the gist of it. So it just didn't make sense, the comparison. He wasn't as good as Kevin Durant in college. He didn't necessarily play exactly like him. Again, I saw more Paul George and Brandon Ingram than I saw Kevin Durant. In fact, I never said that he was this guy or was that guy. I said he was taking aspects of certain players' game. As a prospect, honestly, he really reminded me of a guy like Rashard Lewis. Rashard Lewis is an interesting player, by the way, because Rashard Lewis was someone who was sat in the green room, and he basically was falling into the 2nd round, but at his best he was a 22 point per game guy. That's what I really thought about with Ingram when I saw him play. But again, get back to the main point of this, it's a set example of stereotypes, because the only thing I really saw was scoring potential, to an extent actually, with Ingram, and the size with Ingram when we talk about him compared to a guy like Kevin Durant. Even with that, Kevin Durant was a little bigger. Kevin Durant was a much better scorer. It doesn't even make sense. Why would we compare someone who fits more of a profile of a point forward to a guy who's more of a pure scorer? And I'm not saying Kevin Durant's a pure scorer, but when you think Kevin Durant, you think scoring. When I see Brandon Ingram play, I'm like, he could be a versatile, long, lanky guy that, you know, just does a little bit of everything. Also, the other thing for me is Ingram's a ball stopper in a way, or it's like once he gets the ball, the way he scores is he gets the ball and he kind of stops the flow of an offense in a way. And when I watch him do that, it's much more isolated scoring. Well, Kevin Durant, early on in his career, he was an ISO scorer, but when I saw him with the Golden State Warriors, he began to be someone that moves off ball more, and he proved himself as that. Ingram, I start to see that. Again, I just don't know how he's going to fit with a guy like Zion Williamson, who's going to be the feature piece. Zion's going to be the feature piece for the Pelicans. Ingram, he's going to have to adjust to that role. But this is just a story of bad stereotyping. It really is. It never made sense to me why this comparison was made, besides the fact that they're skinny and that they can both shoot. But again, Ingram is not Kevin Durant. He has some aspects but at the same time, like, I just don't see it. Ingram's not as good of a free throw shooter as Kevin Durant. He's not as good of an overall scorer as Kevin Durant. He's not even as big as Kevin Durant. So, yeah, I mean, again, I don't hate Brandon Ingram. I think he can be a good NBA player. But at the same time, I just don't see the Kevin Durant thing. I never did. But more importantly, it's a story. He is the shining example. He's the flashing red light. He's the beam of light that says, hey, this isn't how you find comparisons for prospects, and this isn't how you profile prospects. Because at the end of the day, this put so much pressure on Ingram. The whole Kevin Durant thing did, and it wasn't Ingram's fault. He didn't say, "Oh, I'm the next Kevin Durant." He literally said that he takes aspects from Kevin Durant's game, but he is himself. Like, he didn't put these expectations on himself. The media put these expectations on him. And it was just so painful to watch, because people are like, "Oh, he's a disappointment after he averaged under 10 points a game in his rookie year." I'm like, no, he's not. He wasn't a disappointment. He clearly was someone that would take a little time to adjust to the NBA. And then year 2, he showed improvement. Year 3, he showed improvement. So, yeah, this is the trajectory I thought about when I saw Brandon Ingram. Someone of that stature, it's going to take time to adjust physically to the NBA. And it took Ingram a little time. It took his rookie year to adjust to the NBA. And I think he could be a solid player. Now, I don't know how long he'll be on the Pelicans, but at the same time, he has a chance to be at least a solid player in the NBA. Maybe even a star player in the NBA. But at the end of the day, he's not Kevin Durant. And the moral of the story is, don't make comparisons based off someone's physical appearance and one aspect of a game that they slightly have. With that being said, have a nice day.